Well, hello, and greetings, friends. Welcome to the Black Entrepreneurs Institute show. We are delighted to have you with us again today. And for those of you that have been tuning in on a consistent basis, I want to say thank you on behalf of my fellow co-founders and myself, Angela Hooper Manyfield, Cedric LaFleur, and Dr. Nicole Ranking. We appreciate the support that you've given to us on the BEI show. And so, listen, we always welcome and invite you to share this broadcast, invite your friends, start a watch party, because we're really here trying to make a real impact in people's lives and to add value. For those of you that may not know me, I'm Damian Johnson. I'm one of the co-founders of the Black Entrepreneurs Institute, and here at the Black Entrepreneurs Institute, our vision is to help entrepreneurs just like you elevate your mindset and elevate your money. Now, just before we jump into tonight's show, and let me tell you, we have got a great show planned for you today. But before we jump in, I wanted to let everyone know that a good friend of Paul's will be doing a special show on the Empowered Living page this Thursday. So this is coming up, 2 days from now. This Thursday, October 1st, we'll have Reagan Wagner at 1 p.m. Now, Reagan is a financial planner, and he's going to be discussing how the upcoming election will affect markets and your investments. So be sure to tune into the EL platform on Thursday. Again, that's this Thursday, October 1st at 1 p.m. To see the show by Reagan Wagner. And so, friends, now that we've gotten that out of the way, September, our theme for September has been sales. And those of you that know me know that I really, really, really love sales. And so earlier this month, I had an absolute awesome great privilege of bringing to you a teaching on the necessary elements of sales. And I had a good time, and I sure hope that teaching served you, helped you get more comfortable, relax into it, know the mechanics of it. But then we followed that show with an incredible, absolutely incredible interview with Ken Thornton. Now, Ken is the VP of sales at Cardinal Health, and boy, oh boy, let me tell you, Ken dropped some pure gold. Pure gold. I must say, I really enjoyed that interview, and I promise if you go check out that interview, you're going to enjoy it too. So be sure to go and do that. Now, the other thing is that we know that entrepreneurs come in all shapes and sizes, and they come in all ages. And so on the fourth Tuesday of every month, we have a youthpreneur segment where we bring to our show a successful youth entrepreneur to share their story. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to bring you hope, to let you know that if you have a business idea, it really is possible for you to birth it and to be successful, because there are even young people doing it. And so this past week, we had Lexi P, a 14-year-old entrepreneur, come and share about her product line called Curlinistas that she had developed. And what was really amazing about Lexi P is that her product line centered around hair care. But here's what she said. She said she was selling self-love. Now, you can't help but love hearing that from a 14-year-old, right? That she was selling self-love. And so as a sales guy, I love when people know their products, and when they understand the features and know how to wrap those features with benefits. And so for me, Lexi rang my bell when she said that she was selling self-love. And so immediately after we got off of the interview last week, I had my wife to go ahead and buy some products and for her and my little girls to use. And so, matter of fact, the package just arrived today, and my wife was really excited. So we'll let you know how it worked out for our little girls. Okay, now for today's show, I'm especially excited because what we're going to do today is we are going to give you a sneak peek inside of the BEI Bootcamp. Now, you might be wondering, well, why would we build a whole show around that? Well, the answer is really simple. We're really proud of our boot camp. We're really proud of the work that we get to do in helping our boot campers up level their results. And as a matter of fact, we are seeing those that have come through our boot camp move the needle significantly. We're seeing them gain clarity, increase their confidence, and most of all, we're seeing them take action. You know, my friends, it's a really beautiful thing when you plant a seed and after consistently watering it and fertilizing it, to finally see that seed begin to grow. It's a beautiful thing and it's an exciting thing. And if you've ever planted anything and seen it grow, you know the pride that you feel when you see that little plant break through the dirt and sprout its two wings, I mean two leaves, and begin to stretch up and grow leaf after leaf and then branches. So that's how we feel, right? So my co-founders and I, we're proud about the boot camp because it's making a meaningful difference. And ultimately, when we set out, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to see people grow and close the gap between really between theory and results. And so matter of fact, this Thursday we're graduating our second cohort. And so they've done amazing work. They've dug their heels in, they've done the work, and they deserve to be celebrated. And we're having a full out graduation ceremony for them. And so we're excited about that. Now, here's the thing. When we launched the boot camp, it was important to us that we not just provide, or not only provide practical and relevant teaching and content, but it was very, very important to us that especially that we would marry the content and the teaching with opportunities for practical application. Okay. And so for this show, we're keeping with our theme of sales because guess what? Sales is the lifeblood of every organization. I challenge you to show me one organization that went out of business because they had too much sales. An organization can survive a lot of missteps, but the one area they cannot afford to misstep in is sales. And so for this show, we're going to keep the focus on sales, but we thought it would add tremendous value to you if we would give you a sneak peek into the boot camp, the BEI boot camp experience. Because see, no matter how much you study, there's some lessons that you can only internalize when you have practical experience. And sales is one of those things, right? It's one of those things where you can't play any better than you practice. And so we're allowing you to be a fly on the wall as we help you get a glimpse of an unrehearsed sales simulation with two of our boot campers. So we're going to jump to that now. And then when we come back, listen, grab a pen and pay attention, right? Because I promise you, this was unrehearsed. And you're going to see the mechanics of it. This is about as real life as it gets. So let's go ahead and jump to that now, and we'll come back in a moment. All right, here we are for the BEI sales simulation. So I'm excited because this is going to be a fun experience, and we're here with our two of our boot campers, Ebony Porter and Kelly. Ebony, why don't you introduce yourself first, and Kelly, you say a couple of words, and then I'll frame up the simulation and we'll get started.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ebony Porter. I currently reside in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I have just survived, you all, 7 weeks of the BEI boot camp, and we're getting ready to cross the finish line. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Kerry?
So my name is Kerry Martin. I've also run the boot camp for 7 weeks. I am just a bit north of the border, just outside Toronto, Canada. And it's been a great experience, just getting a chance to really push myself and try some things that I didn't try before. So hopefully you'll get a chance to see a bit of what we've been learning today.
Awesome. So let's talk about why we're here. We're here because one of the foundational modules that we do in the boot camp is called getting comfortable with sales. Because I've said this time and time again, I'll continue to beat the drum that if you are an entrepreneur, if you're building a business, you are in the business of sales, whether you like it or not. And so one of the things that we do is we want all of our boot campers to get comfortable with the idea of selling themselves and selling their product and services and navigating those sales conversations. And so today, you get to experience us doing a sales simulation. So Ebony is going to be the seller, Carrie is going to be the buyer, and And you're gonna get to watch. You're gonna get to watch and experience how they navigate the sales conversation. So just for our viewers, so that everyone has an understanding of what's going on. This is going to be, Ebony actually represents a company called the Leadership Institute. Kerry is the general manager for a car dealership, and who is already purchasing services from another leadership company called Options Leadership. And now Ebony's coming in to expand the client relationship with her company. They're already doing some assessments, but she's looking to be able to deepen the client relationship. So for Ebony, this is going to be her initial sales call, okay? And so she's going to be talking to Kerry, who's the general manager. And what we're looking to see her do is essentially to have a conversation to understand the current situation and to understand the future opportunity. We're going to do this all in about 20 minutes, and then I'm going to get some feedback and some pointers, the things that still are to me about the conversation. So what we're not looking for is perfection. We're looking to see how they navigate the sales conversation, right? How she understands the client's needs, identifies the opportunities, how she asks questions, and how she ultimately positions herself to be able to provide the solution to Kerry's needs. Fair enough? All right, Ebony, you ready?
Yes, I am.
Kerry, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, well, you guys go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and remove myself from the front stage, and then let you guys go at it. From time to time, I might pop in, but let's go ahead and you guys get started. 1, 2, 3, go.
All right. Well, good evening, Kerry. Thanks for meeting with me today. I'm so excited to talk a little bit more about the needs of your team and the ways that we can continue to develop them as leaders. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. And I'm so excited that your dealership is continuing to thrive even during the pandemic, and that you're committed to developing your leaders. So that's exciting. Can you just share with me real quick, what is the current makeup of your team? You know, how many people are within your team? What are some of their roles and the group dynamics?
I mean, things have changed a little bit with COVID and everything that's happened this year. But generally, we've got about 30 or so salespeople who are regulars. There are some part-timers, most are full-time. Then we have about 3 or 4 main sales managers who have different divisions they work in. So some in the crossovers, some in some of the sports utility vehicles and things like that. And then in terms of my position, so I'm general manager, and I have a couple of assistant managers who work underneath me. And then our focus really is on, obviously the main thing is getting sales, but also just making sure that we have a team that's effective and continues to grow. So it's a good working environment for everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I know that you are really committed to superior service and supporting your team, which we truly believe in, and that really resonates with us. So can you just tell me overall, I know that currently you are considering other vendors for your leadership development needs, but share briefly, what are your needs? What are you looking to accomplish?
So the main thing is that I want to see, I mean, we're spending on development of our staff and our team, but we want to see a return on the investment, because sometimes I think that some of the vendors that can come in can kind of somewhat deliver what we're looking for, but ultimately what we want is a superior customer experience. And that begins with the staff themselves having a good experience of being with us. But in particular, what I really want to see is a renewed focus on the communication within our team. I think that in many cases, there's issues with communication between the team members, but also communication to the public. So I'm looking for an advanced understanding of different ways to communicate with the customers in terms of their non-verbals, in terms of emotional intelligence. I want to see that our team can really pick up on some of the different aspects of what a customer is bringing. How do they pick up on tone? And I think that maybe we're not as sharp there as we should be. I definitely want to see a renewed focus on teamwork. At the end of the day, we are in sales. It is a competitive environment. But I've got the sense of sometimes that competitiveness can sometimes lead to staff members undercutting one another, and it becomes a bit more about them as individuals than it is about us as a family, as a group. And then finally, one of the things that's really become a focus of mine is that It's the acknowledgement that we live in a very diverse community, so lots of different ethnic groups, and I'm not sure that we've really done enough work in really tapping into some of the understandings of diversity and inclusivity. And I want to make sure that our customers are fully aware of the different cultural nuances that our different customers will bring.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. And I was just jotting down some notes. So, and all of these things really resonate with me. One of the things that you really were touching on was emotional intelligence, right? And that is something that we specialize in. So once we get to what we have to offer, you're going to find that that is going to be, an area of development that we're strong in, and that you will see that those that you send through our program will be very equipped, right, to communicate better with each other, to observe the nonverbals, to appreciate the cultural differences. And one thing that you mentioned was that, you're competitive, but it's still a family, right? And we believe in that as well. So, and then when you're in a family, you have to listen. So we pride ourselves on teaching leaders to be active listeners. So as the general manager, can you please just share with me what's your vision, like, to what kind of leaders do you want to see once they have completed this process?
More than anything, what I want is that we retain our customers, but we also retain our staff. I want it to feel as though it's a place where any customer who has bought a car from us 5 years ago, when their family expands and they need something a bit bigger, straight away they think of us. But what I also want is that because we've retained our staff as well, because we're rewarding them for good delivery on their sales, I want to know that when that family comes back in, they can meet a familiar face. So it feels like it's a continual relationship. So it's both about the relationships within the environment, but also wanting to transition into the relationship we have with the public, because if we have good relations with the public, we're going to have good sales.
Awesome. Thank you again for sharing. So just a few more questions that I just wanted to check in with you on. And have you shared with your staff what are some of your goals to ensure that they complete the training? So have you articulated with them what your goals are behind the training?
I think that one of the things that we spend a lot of time is really measuring our customer satisfaction. So we have certain metrics that we use that we do not believe that we are performing as well as we should. So I think that the main thing is that I want to see that metric going upwards. I want to know that when our customers are surveyed once they leave, that they're getting a better experience, and that's being reflected in the survey we do with them. So we are really focusing in on that survey, and if anything, we're adding questions to it. Because we have seen from our analysis that there is a relationship between certain scores of the survey and the number of sales, or the likelihood to get a sale. So really that's a high focus for us right now.
Okay, understand. Awesome. Now I know that you are considering new vendors because your time has come to a close with your previous vendor, but I just want to have just an appreciation for maybe that experience. So can you share with me with that what was your experience like with the previous vendor? What were things that you felt like they did really well, and maybe some areas of improvement?
I mean, obviously they're a competitor of yours, so I don't want to speak too ill of them. So I'll share just some general comments if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
I think that what they were good at is that they were available. They were very flexible with our needs. So as things changed in terms of maybe the makeup of our team, maybe there were periods of reporting a lot of young staff who maybe were less experienced, they were able to respond to those things as we called upon them. Some of the areas where maybe there could have been a renewed focus, I think maybe some of the depth of the content and making some of the content relevant to the population that we serve within this community. I think maybe in some ways it could have been a little bit too corporate. I think they had a very, while they were available to us, they had a very structured model that they worked with. And I got the sense that they use that model in multiple places, where I want, in the same way that when we sell cars, we want to make sure that we sell the right car to the right family for the right price. I want to make sure that whoever we're working with, that we find the right vendor who fits us and also for the right price.
Okay, understand. And so understand one of the things that I'm hearing is that, and this is no knock to them, but maybe it just felt a little too cookie cutter and you're looking for more of a customizable experience. Would that be okay to say?
Customizable and that has the depth behind it. Not, tired theories. I want some depth that really is applicable to who we're dealing with.
Okay, awesome. And you mentioned that you want to touch into the DEI, the diversity and inclusion and cultural competency. Was that something that vendor, did they touch on that at all?
Unfortunately, we had a discussion, and unfortunately, they were not able to deliver in that area of training.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. So I just wanted to, before I, let you know what we have to offer, was there anything else you wanted to make me aware of?
I think not specifically. I think I'm more interested just to kind of hear what you're presenting. The main thing I'd be able to make you aware of is that while I do want to make a decision and get something in place as soon as possible, a final decision from our owners has been communicated that we need to make a final decision by the end of the year. So while I want to make a decision soon, it's not something that I have to do right here, right now. And that's the reason why I brought you in. And my plan is to bring other vendors in to see what they offer as well. So just letting you know that you're not the only person I'll be speaking to.
And that's fair enough. And I thank you for your transparency. And as you know, you all really value the game, that the leadership development game that we offer. So we're really excited to be considered to provide more products. So let me just go ahead and share with you. And I know the previous sales rep shared with me what your previous vendor was providing you. And I'll go ahead and share what we have, and then maybe we can do a little comparison. Okay.
Sure.
So what we would like to offer is a 4-course training module, and that includes a number of training centered on leader development, cultural competency, diversity and inclusion. We talked about the emotional intelligence, active listening. So we're going to look at leadership and development from a holistic approach, right? And so we'll offer those 4 modules. Later, once we get closer, we can go through and you can really kind of dive in and make it more customizable. But either way, we'll do 4 modules, right?
Well, what's the process of making it customizable? How does it work? Do we tell you what we want to do, and then you just basically create what we're looking for? How does it work?
Well, listen, we have kind of like a standard a product offering, right? And then we can kind of walk you through those product offerings and the courses that may resonate to you. But we'll go from there, and then we'll figure out within that how we can kind of customize it, right? So you mentioned, for example, if some of your staff are on the more entry level or younger side of their career, which may be customized to those that are newer, right? Then maybe we do something then for the seasoned employees, right? And then we also maybe another thing we spoke about was retention. So then maybe we customize something centered around retention and leadership.
Okay. What's all of your content? What is it based on? Is it based on a particular framework? Is it a particular type of training, a particular unit that you've come from?
Yeah, so I'm gonna give you these acronyms, and we all know that we're very familiar with them, but we're gonna offer you the ECFC training. We'll offer you the DTLWY training. We'll do the we'll do the Today Matters training, right? And then we also have the 15 loans training. So these are all, some standard but yet customizable leadership and development training. So,
That's good. It makes me just a little bit nervous. Remember I was saying before about not wanting the cookie cutter thing of,
right.
So I'm interested to kind of hear a bit more about how it's going to be customized, because that is a very important aspect of it.
I completely understand that. So one thing that we can do, we'll talk a little bit about, assessments in a second, but we'll assess later. But one thing that we can do to improve the customizable experience is to assess your group before we even start, right? So really understanding who's in the room, what are their communication styles, what are their leadership styles, right? And then we can customize based off of your team, right? Many competitors, they just come in and they'll, give you their product, which is okay, but we're going to take a holistic approach by really understanding and getting to know those that we're getting ready to serve and to develop. So that's definitely one step that we can do to kind of put a twist on it, right? So you may have one division that's heavy on younger leaders, and so we kind of customize to the younger leader versus the mid or senior leader, right? Or depending on where you are, I know you mentioned you have a few assistant managers, right? So maybe we customize for the assistant managers a little bit differently than we do for those that are first year on your sales team.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. And then in addition to the 4 course training modules, we will also offer you 2 specialty courses. And just to share, I know the previous vendor offered you 3 training courses, so we're able to do 4. And then we can do 2 specialty courses, whereas I know that they had offered you 1 specialty course. And so some of those specialty courses can be centered around programming called Another Seat at the Table. We're going to talk about sales leadership development, and then we can offer you those assessments afterwards, right? One of the things that you mentioned was, you're really interested in seeing that customer survey, the metrics improve. And so if we assess those that complete the leadership program, you'll have a better understanding of where they were when they came in, where they were once they finished, and then we'll look to see kind of the direct impact that has on the end result of selling cars and getting families connected with the right type of vehicle.
So you mentioned earlier on that they would be assessed beforehand. Is that different from the assessment you just mentioned as part of the specialty program?
Correct. So the assessments after would be to assess where are you now as a leader after the program. So think of it like a pre and a post test, if you will.
Yeah.
So yes, that's where, and then that kind of gives you a better feeling for what kind of growth your leaders have experienced, right? How they've been developed and since completing the program. And it allows you to see your return on an investment initially, to see kind of how they developed and how they've been coached and how they've grown. And then ultimately you'll see that in the number of cars that they're selling, right? And the number of satisfactions that your customers begin to yield.
Okay.
And one thing that you mentioned that you did not have access to previously was diversity and inclusion training, and that is actually a specialty of ours. Many of us within our Leadership Institute are seasoned DEI professionals. We've completed the various diversity and inclusion training, whether that's on unconscious bias, working with people from various cultures, with various languages, whatever it may be. We definitely have a niche within our organization for the DEI training.
Okay, I'm interested in that.
Okay, awesome. So just to recap, we were discussing the 4 courses that we can customize, the 2 specialty modules that will include the assessment, and then now as a new addition to you, we'll add that diversity and inclusion training.
So when you say you'll add it for free?
No, I'm sorry, not adding it for free. It's an addition for you because you didn't have it previously. I'm sorry. So it's something that can be introduced. And then keep in mind that we previously, I know that you wanted to maintain the leadership game. So we've already, established that. But then the 4 courses, the 2 specialty modules, and the D&I courses will be the new programs that you can consider today.
Okay. I'm just taking some notes. That's good.
Perfect. All right. And I just wanted to reiterate that, we have a strong track record for offering just quality programming and training and developing strong leaders. So we're really excited to, partner with you. And we have a strong technical background in terms of the modules and the trainings that we'll do in the assessment. So you'll really find true satisfaction in the end product and how your leaders are going to be developed.
Sounds good.
All right, perfect. Any questions before we kind of talk about pricing for today?
Yeah, I'm in sales. I want to hear about the money.
All right, understood. All right, so I know previously your previous vendor offered your training for $50,000 and your assessment for $15,000. So what we can do is we can offer the 4 trainings, the 2 specialty assessments, diversity and inclusion, and the ability to customize for $85,000.
So I'm paying more.
Yes, but keep in mind, you're getting the diversity and inclusion training, right? You're getting an additional training course. Previously, you had 3. We're going to give you 4. You're going to get an additional specialty module. Previously, you had 1. We'll give you 2. Once again, you'll get the diversity and inclusion training and the assessments, the leadership game, and the ability to customize because you were not satisfied with that kind of cookie cutter approach.
Okay. So as I mentioned to you earlier on, we're looking for these things for sure. But I have also said that we're looking at more than one vendor. So one of my thoughts is that if I were to say have 3 vendors split some of the package that you provided, what I could potentially do is essentially just have them compete for our overall service, which should hopefully bring down the cost. What's the incentive in me putting everything into the one basket with you, as opposed to getting the chance to work with 3 different vendors, perhaps getting the price a bit lower and kind of putting them on a bit of a trial and seeing what they can produce?
Well, that's a great question. So the first incentive is, one, we know each other. You have found our leadership game to be a very resourceful and valuable tool, right? And secondly, it would be seamless. I mean, I understand wanting to connect with other vendors, but at the end of the day, that's still possibly upwards to 3 different people, 3 different departments, 3 different ways about how they distribute information, 3 different ways to pay different vendors, right? And ultimately, you don't want to lead to possibly putting a stretch on your employees, right? When you have 3 different vendors that may kind of go about things 3 different ways. This would be a seamless way for everybody to be trained. We would have an opportunity to develop relationships with those that we're serving, and it would just be congruent, right? You wouldn't have to put your staff through, okay, who's training you from company A, who's training you from company B, and here's your trainer from C. It would just be seamless, right? And honestly, it'd probably be less of a headache for you, right? Because you would just be dealing with us exclusively. And once again, you get a chance to customize. I can't speak about what other vendors may do, but we would really have an opportunity to kind of go back and forth and make sure that your needs are being met.
And can you guarantee that I will have one point of contact? So if I have an issue with any area that I don't want to be speaking to a lot of different people, as you just mentioned. So the incentive is that I'm working with a smaller group of people. Will I have access to one person and as often as I need?
Correct. Yes. So I will be your main person to make sure that this process is seamless.
Okay.
And
all right. So okay. We can work with that. I hear you on that. But what I'm not hearing is the price that I'm looking for.
Okay.
So what we've got to consider is that yes, sales have got back to where they were before, but we're on the brink of potentially a second wave of COVID. And I don't know if you're familiar with JD Power, but I think in April they said the car sales were down 45%. So we're anticipating that if there is a second wave going into the darker winter months, we could be seeing a decline in our income, in our revenues. So we're trying to do the diligent thing by making sure that we're pricing things at the right level. So for us to go into a season where we've got less potential income and then to go and spend more is not really due diligence on our part. So what can we do that allows us to work with yourselves, which we are interested in, but in a way that allows us to be fiscally responsible?
Right, and I understand that we are all trying to be very prudent during these times. The beautiful thing about these programs is once your leaders are developed, it really equips them, despite the decrease in customers you may experience, it will really equip them to connect with customers, and hopefully that then results in a sale, right? So although things may be perceived as being tight, that we may have to be conservative, this is still an investment that overall is going to help you to make sure that your goals are reached or, surpassed.
I hear you, but there's not going to be a return on the investment if I'm not getting customers through the door, or if so I don't want to waste more of your time. I know that I certainly have to go shortly. What can you do in terms of a price that allows us to work with you, but works in a way that really fits the budget? Because we really don't want to spend more than what we're currently spending. And certainly if I go to ownership and say, yeah, we're paying 65K, now we're going to be paying 85K, they're going to be looking to cut my salary and that's not happening. So
no, I understand. So one of the things that we can offer, we can do well, let me just, one question. Do you for sure want to make sure that you're including the diversity and inclusion?
I mean, that's an area that I don't think has to be as specifically tailored for you. I know of some other organizations that potentially could do that. Obviously, as you said, that it would be good to keep it all together in-house, but there may be some nonprofits who are also willing to do something like that. So that may be something we can look at.
Okay, understood. So what we could do is we could look at ways to reduce the course training modules and the specialty modules to make sure that we can still have a price that still works for you, right? So originally we were offering the 4 course modules, the training modules, and the 2 specialty modules. So we could do 3 courses for you, and we can still include the diversity and inclusion. What do you think about an $80,000 price point? So we can take off about $5,000.
Yeah, again, that's substantially over what our current budget for leadership training currently is.
And what is your budget for leadership training, if you feel comfortable?
So let's just say that the figures that you outlined for what we're currently paying to the vendor we've been working with, we're looking around that ballpark.
So you still want to spend around $65,000?
I would say so, unless there was a really compelling reason that I could take to ownership to say, this is the reason why we're spending more in an economic crisis, then yeah.
Okay. Well, I think the diversity training is a very compelling reason, right? Given the condition of our world, right? So once again, we have the 3 courses and the 2 specialties. So how about this? What if we did 2 training courses, right? 1 specialty module. Once again, that includes your assessments and your BEI training for $75,000. And that, I believe that you could justify, right, that $10,000 increase because you're getting the customizable approach and you're getting the diversity and inclusion.
But doesn't that then mean that, sorry, you said how much? For 75?
Correct.
So essentially it means that I'm paying an extra $10,000 for the D&I because realistically, I mean, I could probably get, the main benefit you've got is you're offering 4 courses. So now we've gone down to 2 and 1 specialty. The only thing that's really separating you is the D&I.
And the customizable.
Yeah.
And the fact that you only have to deal with 1 vendor, which is definitely a benefit.
And how long of a term were you looking at?
Can you define
the contract? How long are we looking at?
This is the annual contract.
Okay. And this would be just for 1 year?
Correct. So we would make sure that all of your, your leaders are developed coach. I mean, we can kind of customize that as well, but typically we'll do this over the course of 12 months. But because it is customizable, you can determine which courses you want to start with initially, which ones you think are the most needed, right? Talk about the emotional intelligence and communications. We can kind of go from there.
All right, let's call time on that. Terry was not an easy client, right?
Terry, no,
I was gonna suffer. I was almost there.
Sweat.
Got Ebony sweating there. So great job, guys. I thought you did a really fantastic job. So one of the things that I love, Ebony, is that you did a really good job in the beginning asking about you and getting him to talk about what some of his experiences and what he was looking for. I love the fact you got him to share about the renewed focus on communication and wanting to, he talked about having advanced communication skills, having his team be able to pick up on nonverbal cues, tonality, and identifying the customer's needs so they can match the right products, but also the renewed focus on teamwork and eliminating the whole staff competitiveness, undercutting each other. And then he talked about the importance of diversity because he has a diverse customer base, okay? I love when we look back around to the emotional intelligence piece. I thought that was really good. And he also shared about the importance of retaining customers and retaining staff, and relationships not only out inside of the dealership but with the public. Um, so I like that you also asked about the decision criteria that he was using. I think one of the areas that you could have done a little bit of a better job was restating back to him the needs that he'd identified, as well as finding out early on what his budget was. Because that part came along a little bit later in the conversation after you'd already given him your price. So it almost felt like we were backpedaling a little bit. But that's an easy adjustment, right? Because I think when you're doing your discovery, you also kind of want to find out where the customer is in terms of what they're looking to spend, so you know basically where to position your offer. And one of the things that I think would have been good is if you'd have added more benefit and looped back to benefits of what you're offering, versus cutting away some of the things that you were offering in order to reduce your price. And then in terms of structuring the deal, I think another thing that would have been good is if you could have come back with a lower price but asked to extend the contract a little bit longer. So to say, okay, well, we'll reduce the price if we can enter into a longer term relationship. So maybe instead of a 1 year arrangement, maybe a 3 year arrangement where they're locking in the price for 3 years, which would give them something we can take back to ownership. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, and I agree with that. That I could have just reiterated what you said. You want the following, right? You want better communication, you want emotional intelligence, and these are the things that we have to offer, which align with what you said you wanted. So,
but I definitely got the sense that you knew what you understood what I was saying. I felt validated in the sense that you weren't just trying to sell; that you were trying to build a relationship. So I think that would have been the biggest selling point for sure.
Thank you.
Carrie, what else do you think Ebony could have done to have gotten you closer to a decision?
I think maybe just looking at again, going to the price that I was looking for. Maybe kind of, I think the compensation of the 5,000, I kind of felt a bit put back by it. So maybe she could have stripped it back a lot more. And maybe we could have come to a consensus. So let's say she gave me a package 65 and I didn't like it, then maybe she can say, okay, but we could add on this. I think I probably would have moved with that. Whereas the 5K, I may have felt a little bit offended. But I think maybe that.
You even shook your head when I was at 8,000.
And one other thing too, I think when you're doing sales, it's important that you're always confident. And there was one point towards the end where you said hopefully, which is not a positive, confident, affirmative stance, right? Yeah, Carrie's a little tough customer here.
I got you, yeah.
But this is a real life scenario, and in sales you got to be able to bob and weave. And by the way, for our audience, this was not pre-rehearsed, so Ebony had no knowledge of the type of objections that Carrie was going to be throwing up, and so she was doing this on the fly, right? Which when you're in a real life situation, you don't know what your customer is going to say, and so you have to be prepared to respond to this at all times. So before I let you guys go, I know we're running a little short on time now. Talk to me a little bit about what your experience was like before entering the boot camp, and now where you are based on what you've learned so far over the course of the 7 week that you've been with us.
I think more than anything, I think it's just pushed me to come out of my comfort zone. So the whole sales and negotiation thing, I'll be honest, there were even times where I thought, maybe I can miss this call. But I think just the fact that there's that accountability in the group, I know Damon will be on my back, and this is always, where's Kerry? Where's it? So I think that sense of community and the fact that we're all learning together, and even though we get feedback that we may think, I wish I'd done that differently, it's in a safe environment where you get that talent, you get to learn from one another as well, which I think is great.
Yeah.
How about you, Evan?
For me, like Carrie mentioned, the sense of accountability and the fact that unlike Carrie came into the process, he had a defined business. I didn't come into the process with a defined business, and I just shared to say that no matter where you are on the spectrum, this bootcamp is for you. I mean, we went from the basics of how do you develop a business plan, right, then to how do you do high level pricing. So there's a little bit of everything in the bootcamp for everybody. And for me, it really forced me to sit down and say, what do you want to do? Like, because I have a lot of ideas, but the boot camp was like, okay, pick one, start with one, and try to do that well. Then you can kind of add on to the menu. And yeah, it's just forcing me to ask myself those tough questions and actually produce something instead of talking.
Wow. Well, there you have it, my friends. Thank you so much for taking the time out to be with us and to be willing to sort of come here and to display your skills that you've learned. And by the way, you did an outstanding job, right? You couldn't, some of the stuff, unless you have practice, you can't be prepared. And none of us can fight any better than we practice. And so one of the things that's really important about the boot camp is that we give you not just knowledge, but practical application and the opportunity to test and to try out the principles and the theories that we teach you in a real life environment that is safe but still challenging. So Kerry, thank you. Ebony, thank you for your time, and we're looking forward to seeing you out there and build an amazing business that serves people at the highest level. Thanks for joining us. Okay.
Take care. Thank you all.
Awesome. That was so much fun. And as you can see, my friends, Kerry was not exactly the easiest customer, but and he had Ebony sweating, but that's real life. And that's what I love about the bootcamp is the practical application. So listen, for those of you that may not have made progress in your business the way that you would like to, you just quite haven't figured out how to turn the corner. I'm just going to tell you that you're going to get results if you come to our boot camp. That's period, point blank. And our boot camp's not open for registration right now. In fact, we're not even taking registration until January. Our next cohort will be in January. But if you know that going into this last quarter of the year, you've not really been able to get the type of traction that you want and need, and you know that it's possible for you, you may just be lacking the accountability, lacking the post skills, lacking the practice, then check us out because we are here to serve you. We're here to help entrepreneurs of all types to be able to elevate their mindset and their money. And we want to see you win. And all of our founders, from Cedric to Dr. Nicole to Angela, we go above and beyond. Our conversation is constantly, how can we help them? What can we do to take them to the next level? And so we're that's our focus, and that's our heart, because we want to take the collection of our experience and pour that into our boot campers to help them become massively successful and to have breakthroughs that they've never had before. So I want to thank you for joining me today. This is going to conclude our series and theme on sales this month. By the way, as always, we are part of the Empowered Living community, and I want to encourage you to follow this network and to share the broadcast, to tune in, and to share it with your community, because the programming that Paul and Roddy are doing, it's designed to help us all live a more empowered life. So from the kids show to the music segment to the special shows that Paul and Roddy does to the teaching segments, everything here is all good stuff. It's for personal development, personal enrichment, and for really being able to step into your greatness and to live from that place of empowerment. And so tonight we're going to have the Empowered Living Candle coming up in just a few minutes. So be sure to tune in to that. And by the way, next week, so we've been talking about sales, and sales is all about closing the deal. But the one of the precursors to sales when you're running a business is marketing. And let me tell you, we have got a dynamite show tomorrow. Not tomorrow, next week. We've got a guest expert coming, and he is bringing the truth. And so you're going to get a lot of value. So make sure you mark your calendar for next Thursday at 7:30. Sorry, next Tuesday at 7:30, right here on the Empowered Living Network. Come and join us for that show, because it's going to be an excellent show all about digital marketing. So with that, my friends, I want to thank you for joining me. On behalf of Angela Hooper Manyfield, Dr. Nicole Ranking, and Mr. Cedric LaFleur, all founders of the Black Entrepreneurs Institute, this is Damian Johnson, thanking you for tuning in and watching us, and thank you for sharing this broadcast, starting a watch party, and thank you for your support. We want to help you win, and we're happy to serve you. And by the way, If you've got an idea for a show, if there's something that you'd like to see us cover, we would love to hear from you. So all you've got to do is send an email to BEIfounders@gmail.com. BEIfounders@gmail.com. So if you have an idea for a show, there's some content that you want to see us cover, we would love to hear from you. Maybe you have someone you think we should interview. So send it to BEIfounders.com. So right now, we're going to say goodbye. Tune in, stick around for the Empowered Living Candle, where we're going to hold a space for peace, love, and hope in the world, because this is a community that supports and supports one another in love, peace, and harmony. So thanks for the time. Have a wonderful evening, and bye for now.